At the time of what I call Chapter 3, which is the Cold War, the beginning of the Vietnam War, trade with Cuba, communism, we don't see a lot in terms of the American media covering Canada. Well, specifically what I should say is that we don't see a lot of anti-Canadianism. We do see coverage of Canada, but not the anti-Canadianism that we've seen flare up over time. And it's really interesting because these are massive, huge policy differences between the two governments. And yet, so you kind of go, okay, what was happening during that time? For example, let's say with the Avro Arrow, at that time, that was seen as a massive news story in Canada when the program was canceled. And there was a lot of coverage in Canada at that time. However, the American media really didn't cover it at all. There were just a few Associated Press wire stories. That's basically it. They're very standard, couple paragraphs, you know, Avro Arrow canceled, and this means this many jobs lost, and that's basically it. And yet that's really surprising, particularly with the Los Angeles Times, because at that time, aerospace was a huge industry in Southern California, and so you would think this is a natural story for the LA Times to pick up. They didn't. I think at that time what was happening was that American journalists were actually very much swamped, per se, by the amount of coverage they had within their own country. This is a time of vast differences even in the United States itself. We had the assassinations of Dr. Martin Luther King. We had the assassination of Malcolm X. We had, JFK also, that assassination. We had civil war rights. We had the race, the space race was beginning with Sputnik. There's a lot going on just within the United States. Where are we going? What are we becoming? Who are we? Those types of questions. And if I were a journalist back then in the U.S., I think Canada all of a sudden just seems way out there. What is it? What's it doing? Okay, we might disagree on policy, but that pales in comparison to the unrest that's happening within our own country.